8 Best 1980s High-Tech Gadgets. Apple Macintosh. You can't cover technology originating in the 80s and not mention one of the most iconic bits of tech to ever from that decade, the Apple Macintosh. Before it got all cool and started going by Mac, the Macintosh was a landmark for personal computers when it dropped in 1984. Sure, it was as expensive as all hell, but this Steve Jobs-led little marvel brought its 128K power straight into people's homes as it went head-to-head with the Commodore 64 and the IBM personal computer. Sony Walkman. It may have stumbled in the 90s with the brilliant yet poorly received mini-disc format, but back in the 80s Sony started a musical revolution with the Walkman. Music had defined every decade and generation, but it was a grounded medium resigned to chunky record players and cassette decks. Then the Japanese Electronics came along with a portable device in a small form factor and changed everything. Nintendo Game Boy. The first of two entries by the once dominant games publisher and hardware developer Nintendo, the Nintendo Game Boy was another portable, small form factor device that changed the landscape of gaming dramatically. Prior to its release in 1989, the firm had partly made its name with another portable handheld, the Noble Game & Watch. These little pocket-sized gadgets were a blast, but they had very little processing power and usually played a single game. Nokia Mobira Sideman 900. These days, the mobile phone is so far advanced we barely even call it a mobile phone anymore, but back in the 80s the sheer thought of carrying a phone any further than the length of a coiled plastic cord seemed fantasy at best. Then along came a handful of firms, including a certain Finnish outfit by the name of Nokia Mobira, and made portable phone calls an actual reality. Epson ET10 Pocket TV. If you haven't already twigged, there's a bit of a pattern forming with this feature, good old portability. From music on the move to phone calls away from home, handheld technology helped define the decade and every single one that's followed. And so it was the turn of the humble TV, already shrinking in its own right as a regular set, to get the micro treatment. VHS player/VCR recorder. Okay, with so many different players that helped make VHS the preferred video format in the 80s, it's hard to nail down particular model that made all the difference, but it just goes to prove how influential those chunky video cassettes became in the 80s and 90s. From Panasonic to JVC, all the big and aspiring electronics giants had their own player, and future fortunes were made as the home video entertainment market boomed.